The Pro Bricky exclusive YouTube channel with Reverend Dr. Jason W. Morrison, theologist, otherwise known as Pro Bricky, from Pro Bricky Next Generation on Facebook, and from Pro One Theologist YouTube channel. But for now, we're on the Pro Bricky exclusive YouTube channel, and I'm going to talk about on the fact that you have to leave behind the past. And what does that mean? It means learn from what your experiences have been and accept that things have worked out the way that they have. And it possibly may not be the way that you wanted things to go. There's probably, you've been let down, you've been criticized, you've been jeered, you've been judged, you've been misled, you've been misconstrued, defamed, characterized by people. This is just what happens. And it's not all that hard to decide that I'm going to cut these people off. I'm going to leave this part of my life behind. And the fact of the matter is, there's just people in the world that are what they are, and they have an evil tendency. Some people smoke, and they'll continue to smoke until they die. It just suits them to do that. They don't care about the passive smoke or anything like that, and the way in which that affects people, but they will smoke until they die. How do I know this? Because I've had family members, several family members that have done this in front of me. And I can remember as a little boy growing up, my grandmother used to smoke. And I used to lie on the floor when we were watching telly. I'd lie on the floor because it was the safest way to stay away from the smoke. Now, I don't care if people smoke, it's up to them how long they want to live and whether they think they can beat the odds and live longer than what they should. But when you look at people that smoke, you can see what it's doing to them. This is just one example. It's like alcohol. You can see that person while they're not drinking, but once they start to drink, anything can happen. It's just the way that it is. There's a part of our innate nature that knows trouble's coming. And the funny part about it is, or the foolish part about it is, you can go along with all of this. You can associate with all of this. You might be stuck with all of this in a marriage or in a family situation. But the best way that I've found to deal with this kind of thing is to get as far away from it as you can. Because you'll be surprised at how determined and how stubborn people are about hurting themselves and harming themselves. They'll have all sorts of psychological reasons. They'll all have all sorts of the reasons of their wounds and this and that and why. And this is justifying why I'm going to hurt myself, why I feel this way about other people, why the world owes me something, this kind of thing. And what the problem with it all is, you've got to say to yourself, the psyche of that person, how it's reflected outward to you towards life and people, will be the way that it will end up on you. You'll be on the end of it at some point. It doesn't matter if it's your partner, your mother, excuse me, or teacher or anybody else. You are going to end up on the weaknesses of the people that are closest to you. My mother was a gambler and a smoker. On the one hand, the gambling took a lot of her money. On the other hand, the smoking took years and years off her life. She died at the age of 67 at the hands of smoking. She never thought it was going to kill her. She was an active woman all the way up until she died. But she died, and as far as I'm concerned, she died young. Well, you might say, I've had relatives that have lived till 90 that smoked. Well, it's Russian roulette, isn't it? And if you want to play Russian roulette, you go right ahead. You can play without me. One thing I do know is I've tried to maintain a healthy life, mentally and physically. And That's not as easy as it sounds. It takes tremendous effort, tremendous discipline, and the rewards are tremendous as well. But at the same token, I've known people that have lived tremendously healthy lives and have died young as well. So when you look at the thing, when you look at life and what it can give to you and what it does to you, it really is a lottery. To a great extent, life is a lottery. And I always think of my friend David Best, very successful man, truck mechanic. Started off as a truck mechanic and finished off as a truck mechanic. But he died at the age of 57, a multi-millionaire, wonderful family, beautiful children, lived a very entrepreneurial, charismatic life, and it was taken from him at the age of 57 through prostate cancer. I didn't even think he was going to die. I used to sit with him. We did a lot of work on his property as he'd selected masonry contractors, and I would sit with him on his back veranda and he'd listen to my stories about love and life and laugh his head off, because that part of his life was taken away through illness. But I didn't think he was going to die, but he did. He died. It took him. It's hard when you love someone and you're working in with them and you know that they're doing things that are killing them and harming them, and you're being non-judgmental and you're watching them live, and then all of a sudden you see it getting worse. You think they're getting better, but they're actually getting worse. They're getting worse because they're stuck. It's their way of life. They're not going to change. It's just the way that they are. They like doing what they're doing. Doesn't matter if it's going to kill them or not. There's no point in judging them. And so when you see people with incredible destructive habits, outward habits that are helping their psyche, I suppose, to remain calm, or whatever these things are that helps them with these addictions and habits, the sad part is you know that it's going to bring them to an unhappy, uncomfortable, and for the most part, agonizing death. I can remember one of my mum's partners, Les, and Rip Les McMillan. He died from smoking as well, just like the mother did, just like the stepfather did. And I'm not picking on smokers. If you want to smoke, go right ahead. It's up to you. I can only go from what I've seen. And he died a horrible death. And Mum never really got over the way in which it all killed him, smoking and drinking. It was horrific. It was horrible. I couldn't face it. It was too much for me. As a matter of fact, I'm at the stage where I don't even want to face funerals anymore. I've been to too many. And I'm saying that as an ex-Christian minister who used to bury people. I just don't want to go near that place anymore. I know that's where I'm going to end up, and I want to avoid it as long as I can, and I suggest you to do as well. So where am I heading with this? Some people are just going to end up where they didn't need to be, where they weren't planned to be, where they are hurting themselves on a day-to-day basis. And your love and your commitment and your care and companionship, your encouragement, your support, your words, your knowledge, your wisdom, your intimacy, your time is not necessarily going to help or change that person for the better. Do you love them any less? No. Do you care for them any less? No. Do you hope for them any less? No. Do you make them feel embarrassed for the way they're treating themselves? No. And what do? You've got to stay on your course. You've got to bolster with foresight what the possibilities are of that person being taken away too soon. You've got to communicate. You've got to love. But what you'll find is people that are normally out of sync with their health will at some point come out of sync with you. You'll meet people, you'll meet females, and they'll come into your life. And if they haven't come to a place where they know how to navigate their life in a way in which it's going to sustain and maintain a healthy and strong and happy relationship, well, the fact of the matter is, the simple, brutal fact of the matter is, you're not going to get one. You'll have the company, you'll have the person, they'll say they love you and all the rest, but at the end of the day, they just haven't got your back. They're just not going to be able to stand. It's just the way that it is. And it's because the old-fashioned values are either gone or warped. And that's why a lot of relationships just don't work out anymore. There's so many dynamics that are up against them and undermining them and wrecking them. So it's a matter of how far you want to go in the dysfunction. And it's a matter of how far they want to go in your dysfunction as well. Because a lot of us are repulsed at dysfunction. It takes a lot of mental effort to keep going when things aren't right, when you know things could be better. All the interferences and relatives that just are not going to encourage things, and you watch this person trying to navigate around it and stand by you, and you're applauding them in your spirit, but on the other hand you're going, I just wish you could beat this, I just wish you could find a way. And for the most part, usually they don't. And it's hard. Life is hard. It's not about letting your faithfulness and loyalty blind you to other people's crap and rubbish and garbage. And people miss out. Everyone misses out where there's dysfunction and unresolved. But you got to leave the past behind. You've got to look towards the future, and the future really doesn't guarantee anything. It only guarantees what your capabilities are by way of facing it. And if you haven't learned from your experiences from the past, then history will just repeat itself and you'll end up where you are over and over and over again. Think about your future. Think about the past. Don't judge anybody. Pray for those that have been in your life and it just hasn't worked out. And move through what's ahead with wisdom and graciousness and resolve. This is Reverend Dr. Jason W. Morrison on the Pro Bricky exclusive YouTube channel, otherwise known as Pro Bricky, from Pro Bricky Next Generation on Facebook and Pro One Theologist on YouTube. Thank you for joining me, and bye for now.